Hi everyone, and welcome to yet another episode on writing clean codes. So today we'll be doing a review of a code. Someone shared a code base with me to review. I actually did a lot of review, but there's just some few things I want to share with you. Just a few I want to share with you, and maybe we'll continue as we move forward. So, but before we proceed, if this is your first time joining my channel, you're welcome. My name is Fabian. Uh, I'm excited to have you here. Here we basically learn how to write clean code and how we can keep our code clean, basically. So we're excited to have you on board. Please hit the subscribe button as you join us on this journey to explore clean codes. So if you look at what we have here, this is a method that is handling. First is checking if what the user provided from the request is what the UID that they correspond. If they correspond, you check for that particular the particular discount and get the current rate. So when you get the current rate, what the code does is it also allow you to enter your own rate. So if you enter your rate and it's two above the 1% above, it will tell you that you are above the recommended rate. But if it is anything below, it will just allow it to pass basically. So there is a recommended one that is coming from here that you can just get, which is coming from a different method, which we are not going into. But what you can either use the recommended one or you can enter yours, and if it's too above, it will not allow you. It can only be below. So that's just a summary of the code. But if you could look at the code, basically the name is really not cool enough, and this should be its own method, and this should also come in its own method, because this alone is this method is handling too much for just discount rate. It's just handling too much, and this parameters to be tapped in so that we avoid any other thing that will come for clarity and code readability, to have a clean code that will be easier to maintain. This should have a parameter type hint, and this should have a method should have a return type. So let's look at what I did to this method. If you can look at what I have here first, what I did is that I have a method. I remove most of this code that I mentioned that needs to have its own method, and I have a pass validation method that I have them here, and it has a return type of void, because we don't need to return a boolean in this case. This is a request class in Laravel, so we just need to return a boolean. So we're returning a void. That's why we don't put the false or whatsoever. So that's the first part of the review. And then if you go look down here, we have we're passing a parameter type hint here. We're making sure that this is only the instance of this that can be accepted. And this method, the return type, if you come here, you would know that the return type of this method is float. And if you can look at what we have here, we're handling a discount rate. Here we're making sure this validation part, and here we're handling discount rate. So how we're handling it as well, we check if what is entered from the keyboard. If something is entered it's not entered from the keyboard first, which is very good. You should check for the bad, for the sad part before the happy part will come last. So we check if it is not, then we just take what is already we already have. But if it is, then what are we doing? We now we return this, which is what we'll be taking basically, and then we check the and calculate our 1% here, and then if it is if it's above, we throw an exception. And it's important. Some people do abort, but it's important to just throw an exception here in your request class if you're using Laravel. Yeah. So if you can look at here, you don't need to have if, else, if, and all of that. So you can look at what we have here. There's no last else part. What we have here is if this is fine, it should happen. Then if this does not work, then this condition will execute, and if this condition does not, then this will execute, and then it will return this. You understand? So this is just a simple how this code should be written. I'm trying to see how I can have this code, compare them so that you can see. So if you look at what we have, if you could look at these two methods, Let me click on this other one that was written by him first. So if you look at this method, this is still a bit longer than this, but everything here is jam packed. But if you look at this separation of concern, we have two methods here, and everything is actually written very clean. So that is how you should write your PHP in this era. You should make sure that you type in your method, you have a return type, and you return early, and the method is not too big, and all of that. So that is just it for this, guys. If you have a question, please drop it in the comment section, and we'll continue on doing most of those things. So if you could look at what I have here, what we have here, if you're writing a test for this particular code, you make sure you test this part. If something is entered, if it's not entered, and then you take what is already there. If something entered and it's two above, and if something entered and it's still okay, these are the topics we'll be looking at in the future. How you write tests, and how many percentage should your test, what should be your test coverage. I'll also look at more code reviews. I'll actually be sharing a series on how the contributors and code reviews should respond to a code base, basically. So if you're interested in what you just watch, hit the subscribe button, like my videos, and more of these will be coming your way. Thanks, and do have a nice day, guys.